Okay, we're ready to go. All right, everyone, thank you and thanks for your patience. It is 11:05 and I call the July 25th, 2025 meeting of the Texas Space Commission Board of Directors to order. Before we begin, I ask that you all put your mobile devices in silent or turn them off before we get going. And I'm going to toss it over to Norman for to call the roll.
Yes, ma'am. Chair Griffin,
Here.
Vice Chair Kathy Leaders,
Here.
Secretary Kurt Shireman,
Present.
Evan Loomis,
Here.
Brad Morrison, John Shannon,
Here.
Dr. Heather Wilson, Dr. Nancy Curry Gregg, Sassy Dudley. Ma'am, by present, we have a quorum.
I know we have a few folks out on vacation this week. It is that time of year here before kids go back to school. So thank you all for being here from the board and those here online and in the room with us today. Thanks so much. Since our last board meeting, which was a month ago, the date, I'll say this board has remained very active and engaged on behalf of the commission and in many different ways. I do want to thank my fellow board members for the continued focus on scoring SURF grants. I do know they take a lot of time and we have a lot of them. So thank you again for that. And then I also know a lot of us have been going different directions. I think Kirk was just at the Ascend conference. There's a lot of things happening in industry around the country. And earlier this week, Norman and I were in DC for the Innovate Space Global Economic Summit that was co-hosted by the Space Foundation and Amazon Project Kuiper. And along with several elected officials, we and executive corporate leaders that participated in panel discussions and conversations that day. We also heard from Space Force Major General Stephen Purdy. General Purdy is a military deputy to the Assistant Secretary of the Air Force for Space Acquisition and Integration. And he talked about some of the critical things, timing, speed and things that need to happen. So it was great to hear from General Purdy on Tuesday. And then in the afternoon, I was a bit surprised, but we were privileged to have General Gutlein, second day on the job after being confirmed as the Space Force Program Manager for Golden Dome of America. He was able to make it to this conference. It was scheduled well before his confirmation. And he talked about, his plan that he's been told that he will deliver a plan in 60 days to ensure an objective architecture for Golden Dome to be completed within 3 years. And I think that was probably one of my biggest takeaways from the day. And I think it said a lot that General Gutlein was at an industry-focused event. He made it very clear that commercial industry, institutes of higher education, and nonprofits are all going to be critical to the success of readying our nation with Golden Dome. So I wanted to share that with you. I also had the pleasure of being on kind of a unique panel conversation with a Space Florida board member. It was titled The Economic Engine of Texas and Florida in Space. So it was our two competimates, I'll call them. We're competitive, yet we share a common goal in providing the needs for our nation, both in defense and civil space. So we talked a little bit about what each of our states are doing to support those efforts. And while we're different, we are aligned in the higher good. So it was fun. And then Norman and I had a chance to visit with Senator Cruz and Congressman Carter's offices on the Hill, and then spent the afternoon on Wednesday with with Colonel Latour, who is now leading Delta 14, which is a new Delta, and it's called Space Futures Task Force. So it was great to have some insight into this new Delta there as well. And then next week, my schedule continues with we'll participate as a commission, the first time the Texas Space Commission And Texas, I believe, has participated in the Aerospace States Association meeting. And it'll be the 33rd meeting, annual meeting of that association, but the 6th State Aerospace Summit. So we'll be there speaking in speaking roles. So it's nice that Texas is showing up and having a voice there. So it's been a really busy summer, and I think everybody can vouch for that. But again, thank you for continuing to score the grant proposals that we have in light of all the other things going on. So with that, I'd like to move on to agenda item 3 in your board book for the board members. We need to consider approval of our meeting minutes from the June 24th meeting. They should be in tab 2 of your board book. And question is, do these accurately reflect our meeting, or do you have any edits? So may I have a motion to approve the minutes from the June 24th, 2025 meeting of the Texas Space Commission Board?
No edits, and I move that we approve the minutes.
Thank you, Kirk. And may I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed, no. Hearing none, minutes are approved. I'd like to turn it over to Norman for the executive director.
Thank you, ma'am. Just a few comments I want to share for not only the board, but also our guests in the room and those online as well. For the 19 awards out of the SERP grant program that the board has authorized since January of this year, update in terms of where we are on the grant agreement. The status is that 5 of them have been fully executed, meaning that they've been signed by both the awardee and on our side as well. 4 of the agreements are in the hands of the awardee. So we're waiting on their signature for then us to countersign and fully execute. So it's out of our court and in their hands. 8 of the drafts are under review by our grants team, meaning that we have asked for all of the right inputs from those awardees, and we're still going back and forth to populate that final grant agreement. And then as of this morning, I believe there are 2 still that are in-house with us. I know Aaron has been updating since we even convened now, but all to say, that brings the total right about a 50-50 split in terms of those that have been fully executed and those that are still in the works. We hope to have those last 2 over the finish line, ideally by today, if at all possible. So good progress on executing the actual contracts for those awards that the board has approved since January. Next up, in addition to those activities that you referenced, which took place this week, I want to highlight a couple of other engagements that not just myself, but folks from our team have participated over the months of June and July to date. There's been approximately 20 separate conferences that various members of the team have attended, both here in Austin, around the state, and outside of Texas as well. Want to highlight just a few for everyone to track. There was a downlink that we were able to participate. Brad attended over at Axiom with the crew who was out in space. There was a big engagement down in Brownsville. Their space symposium and the Texas Southmost College, as well as the Greater Brownsville Incentive Corporation, had a big event as well. Places like Port of San Antonio and Sweary down in Bexar County. Also over in Waco, engagements at TSC and Baylor University as well. Several companies in and around the Houston area, of course, we continue to have some engagements with. And then separately, in terms of briefings and participation by board members and TARSEC executive committee members as well, the Greater Houston Partnership recently had an Artemis Suppliers Forum that Kurt, Nancy, Stephanie, and David all spoke at as well. Of course, some ongoing conversations with Johnson Space Center, engagement with NSXTL. Also, Why Texas had a big event up in Round Rock that Brad and I spoke at. A new thing that I want to make everybody's tracking also is our participation, or rather us being pinged here now frequently by even some of the friends in the room when it comes to international delegations. You highlighted our time at the Australian Embassy earlier this week up in DC, but we also did a briefing for the Southern Australian Trade Delegation that Space Force Association recently led here in the Austin area. I know Blake and others participated with the Texas Association of Business activity that featured an AUKUS senior advisor at the U.S. Department of State that took place here in Austin not too long ago. We've also visited with people from the government of Bavaria, the Italian American Chamber of Commerce, the Mexican Consul's office in Brownsville, an organization called South Korea Texas Forum that has lots to do with activities underway with the semiconductor industry right here in Williamson County. And then also down in Houston recently, myself and Terry Zubert from BDT spoke at the Spain USA Business Summit. So that was some good exposure as well. You highlighted some activities with the Space Force, but also there was a briefing with Brigadier General Denaro up in DC not too long ago, the SFA Power Series on the most recent information available from their budget expected from the federal government. And then also General Gutlein was featured at the NNSA Investors Forum in DC last week as well. So lots of engagement. We're getting a lot of opportunities to continue conversations with stakeholders, and we certainly welcome those ongoing. Another update for the public and the board, as you all know, recently Aaron was promoted to general counsel, and so we have had the application open for chief compliance officer. We've received approximately 30 applications. A handful have been down selected, and those interviews are underway thanks to Brad Morrison's participation as the chair of the board's subcommittee on hiring for that process as well. Other than that, as I mentioned, just lots of frequent meetings, both in person as well as virtual, with some prospective companies that are interested in setting up shop somewhere in Texas. So decisions made by this board, I think, are continuing to encourage those conversations, which we're coordinating with the Economic Development Tourism team over in the governor's office, of course, led by Adriana Cruz and her team, and keeping board members apprised of those through our frequent ad hoc work group meetings as well. So happy to answer any questions, but just wanted to make sure everybody was tracking what we're doing.
Thanks, Norm.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks to the team for really running at a fast pace here. That's Cliff. Any questions for Norman from the board? Hearing none, I'd like to give the floor to our TARSEC chair, Stephanie Murphy, who's on the line. Stephanie, over to you.
Thanks, Gwen. Good morning, everyone. Really just a couple of quick updates. It is summertime and people are out and about, so we've slowed down just a little bit at TARSEC over the summer months. But I wanted to report that we delivered a report to the TSC just today, just this morning. That's probably still in your inbox, Gwen, unopened. But it is a summary and consolidation of the input that we gathered over the workshops that we've already hosted. And input that we've collected as we engaged with over 700 people across the state. So that was no small task to try to consolidate all of that information into a report for you guys to read through. And that we appreciate Matt Onler led that charge on our executive committee. But every executive committee member had a couple of rounds of input to that report. So we're anxious for you guys to get a read on that and to figure out how we can continue working with you on implementing some of the recommendations that may be there and strategizing for the state. The other big thing that we did, which I mentioned in our last meeting, was we opened up membership to private entities or nonprofits, to entities beyond the institutions of higher education that are members of our consortium by statute. And so I wanted to report in May, that's when we opened the application. We had 44 applicants. Our executive committee met a couple weeks ago to review those, and we approved 30 of those 44. So we have 30 new members approved. 14 of them were really, we just needed more information. We have some criteria set up, and we needed to ensure that they meet the criteria or they're the right fit for the TARSEC consortium. June and July slowed down a little bit. We had 27 applicants. We're in the process of reviewing those, and we'll be meeting in the next couple weeks to vote on those. But we're anxious to recruit new members and to move into the fall into forming focused work groups in various areas that can help advise and strategize for the state for both TARSEC and the Space Commission. So if anyone's interested, you can hit our website, tarsec.space. Also, our LinkedIn page has a link to the application as well. If anyone wants to share that on LinkedIn, we'd appreciate it. Beyond that, we're just hanging tight. We've decided to pause on our workshops, given that it's the summer months, and we'll start planning workshops again in the fall. We still intend to do one in West Texas, El Paso area for sure, South Texas, and maybe up Midland, Odessa area. So those are on our radar. We're just not actively planning for those right now. So that's all the update that we have, other than members of our executive committee continue to support speaking engagements and raising awareness for TARSEC and what the commission is doing across the state. So we appreciate the opportunity to do that. That's all I have today, Gwen. Thanks.
Thanks, Stephanie. To the board, any questions for Stephanie or comments or ideas? All right, thanks again, Stephanie. And I know I owe you several emails back, by the way. So at this point, it's my pleasure to introduce Major Lauren Rogers with SpaceWorks. She's a U.S. Air Force reservist and serves as technical advisor for the space portfolio for the Defense Innovation Unit, as known as DIU. We were briefed by DIU a few months ago, so it's great to turn it over to you. And it's my understanding, to help me to know if I get this right or not, that really SpaceWorks' mission is to transition agile, affordable, and accelerated capabilities for by teaming. And I think that's a key word here. Collaboration may be another key word. So, partnerships, collaboration, teaming, that's something that we didn't hear a lot before. And it seems like those times have come. So would love to hear more from you and from both of you. So thank you. Thanks, Captain Hessler, you as well.
Thanks for having us. We have some slides. I don't know if you have those ready to go. Thank you for the introduction, and we're definitely excited to be here. As you mentioned, I'm Major Lauren Rogers, and Major Whitney Hessler is with me.
Great.
Right. So we're here from SpaceWorks today. As you mentioned, I'm a reservist here local in the Austin area, and Major Hessler is active duty with us, SpaceWorks out of El Segundo. So if you want to get the slides up. Why don't you share them?
That's this
Dr. Austin. I don't know how often you get this way.
Well, I am from Texas originally, born and raised in College Station. So any excuse to come by, I will take it. I said, you want to come back to Texas Space Commission? I'm there. Here we are.
She's kind of, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome home then.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Excited to see all the things that are happening.
Or two.
Yeah.
This is really a lot of fun.
And hopefully more to come, especially in College Station.
Stand by, folks.
Happy to start things off, while they're doing that. So, as we mentioned, we're with SpaceWorks. I'm local here to Austin, although most of y'all are out of Southern California, in our hub in El Segundo, right, co-located almost with Space Command down there at LA Air Force Base, just kind of across the street. So SpaceWorks, as you'll see on the first slide, we inspire and empower collaboration with innovators to accelerate capabilities and shape our future in space. Organizationally, we're part of AFWorks, which is part of Air Force Research Labs, which reports to Air Force Material Command at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. But we partner with the Space Systems Command's Commercial Space Office, COMSO, to drive innovation and commercialization within the Space Force.
We just heard from COMSO at the conference on Tuesday, so it's all is coming together.
It's a weird organization or until everything gets squared away, right? Space Force.
Sorry.
All right. So our mission, which
Hello, Gwen. Can you?
First slide.
I just wanted to point on the net. We are seeing. I can see Andreas's screen a little small. It's there, but it's not on the big screen for us. So I don't know if you guys could. For those of us who are remote, if you could Help us get it on the big screen.
If you
I
click
got it.
on it,
Thank you.
Kirk, it'll pop up on the big one.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And then you can go to the next slide.
Well, the logo.
All right, if you want to go to the first slide. All right, so as we mentioned, we're headquartered in Los Angeles, at the bridge, which is co-located almost, I guess, across the street from LA Air Force Base and Space Systems Command. Talked about, I think, almost everything on there. So we're a division of AFWorks, as I mentioned. We're part of AFRL, which is part of Air Force Material Command. And our mission is to accelerate agile and affordable capability transitions by teaming leaders in innovation technology with airmen and guardian talent. And our vision is to forge an innovation ecosystem that delivers disruptive air and space capabilities. You can go to the next slide. All right, for those that are unfamiliar, our pot of money that we get is the SBIR and STTR dollars. That is what we are charged to execute on behalf of the Space Force. SBIR is Small Business Innovative Research, and then STTR is Small Business Tech Transfer. It is congressionally mandated funds that it's essentially a tax on the overall R&D budget for the Department of the Air Force. That must go to small businesses. If you actually look at the congressional charter, the goal is economic development and ensuring that additional players get a chance to compete for these contracts. And what we see on our side is an opportunity for non-traditionals, maybe space companies that have more of a commercial focus, that maybe want to have DoD as a customer, or people who are interested in dual use technology. We want to help them mature their tech with non-dilutive capital that they don't have to pay back, which is a pretty tempting offer for small businesses. On the STTR side, it just mandates that small business be partnered with a research institute of some kind. So that can be a university, it can be an FFRDC, a UARC. There's a lot of flexibility there, but it just mandates that there's a partnership on that piece. And the small business side, it just requires that it's a US-based business with under 500 employees. We execute the funds with these three branches: the Spark branch, Portfolio Management, and the Accelerate branch. Traditionally, what we were seeing was, I think because we're a young branch of the military, we were able to kind of look at the funds being executed by other branches and kind of apply the lessons learned from the start. And I think that we've seen some really powerful results come out. So instead of just writing a solicitation for a need and having small businesses apply, we see it as our charter to break down the barriers to entry. So, make sure that we are helping with the outreach piece, education piece. We have a lot of resources on how to apply for a SBIR, how to understand the demand signal, how to meet customers, those types of things. We do a lot of that outreach in the Spark branch. So that's more of our outreach arm, really bringing people into the funnel. And from that point, we're aligning them with some priority that we have. So that could be from a program office. Let's say every program office in SSC has a charter to integrate commercial capability. It's part of our commercial space policy. And we kind of help each program office get after those priorities. So they tell us some problem area and that they think commercial can get after. We write a solicitation and small businesses can apply through DSIP, which is the site. What we were seeing though is we're not the easiest customer to work with. So and there are some things that we can do to help with that. There's a lot that we can't do, but there are some things that we can do. So education piece is big. We have resources for that. Getting the right demand signal, I think, helps small businesses don't feel like they're getting whiplash, being told different things. So a clear demand signal we found was really important. So getting that from the program offices has been really powerful. And then on the follow through part of, okay, I've got this SIBR in hand. I did the contractual agreement for what technology or prototype you wanted after it. Now I need someone to buy it. To be clear, the SBIR dollars are only R&D dollars. They're not procurement dollars. So you have to have someone with procurement dollars on the other end. So aligning with that program office from the start has been so powerful in making sure that the technology is actually moving out of R&D and into procurement, or maybe they need to be a subcontract, or maybe they're a commercial company and we just want to buy the data. There's a lot of different ways that we kind of view success in this ecosystem. It's not always this small business grows and is now a competitor with a big prime contractor. You know, there are a lot of different definitions of success here. And so whatever that looks like, according to that particular business plan, we try to help them. And a lot of that's done through the Accelerate branch. So they have resources on the tail end. So after an award is done, what resources can we provide them? Lab space, TRL assessments or technical readiness level assessments, business development, clearance help, those types of things. Anything that they need to mature their tech, which is going to look different business to business. That is what that branch is designed to do. So each, and then portfolio management, they have we have tech verticals in each of, kind of binning the technology. And that way, if there is a need that we get, and we've already got a SIBR company that is doing that particular work, we can align them with that customer. We don't have just the constant new solicitations happening. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. I want to piggyback on one thing that you said there too. I think this will come up on a later slide. You talk about partnering with the program office, which I think is really important and what differentiates us from some of the other innovation organizations within the department. Because we partner with them to begin with. They're the ones who have the money to field the tech, right? To maintain it. And you hear a lot of the valley of death, right? We get this really cool technology and then, okay, nobody's there to buy it. I think it's key that we point out that we start at the beginning with that end user who has the money to buy the tech. So there's a clear path versus just, oh, that's cool. Now what do I do with it? So I don't know. I think you'll probably go into that in one of the later slides, but I wanted to highlight because you touched on that already.
That's great. I do think that, we're at the smallest branch. I think it does allow us to be a little scrappier and a smaller boulder to push uphill when we need to change. So I think we've done some things to help out small businesses, and we've heard good feedback, and we're continuing to try to break down those barriers. These are kind of our 3 ways that we can spend that money. So we have open topic, which means that we have not asked for this technology, but you think we should be asking. That being the small business. And so you have to get something called a customer memorandum signed. And there's SSC front door is the best way to kind of get your technology in front of a program office. And they have a front facing website where you can put your tech in. I will say that we are doing a lot less open topic, mainly because of the transition thing. Every program office is tech specific, and if your technology is not aligned with their funding cycles, we don't want technology to fall off. So clear demand signal means that they are putting in their budget an allocation for that technology. And we're seeing a lot more transition success through specific topic than we have traditionally through open topic. It is still available, and I don't want to discourage people from doing it. But I will say that's kind of the direction that we're headed. And I actually think, because I think a lot of people push back on, it limits our ability to apply. But if you apply, but it goes nowhere, that doesn't help you. We want to fix the underlying problem of the transition piece to actually get
the tech transferred to the warfighter. And we see a lot more of that being done through specific topic. And so getting your tech in front of a program office and then them, then creating a specific topic has kind of been where we were moving.
Yeah.
Specific topic does not require a customer memorandum. You just apply through DSIP and put your proposal in. And then the top, proposals are selected. And then there's one more funding mechanism that is unique currently to the Department of the Air Force, and that's STRATFI and TACFI, Strategic Funding Increase and Tactical Funding Increase. And it's additional SBIR dollars, so still R&D, that can be placed on top of a SBIR. And this is really helpful in the transition process. If I am a program office and I want a new technology today, I should have asked for it 3 years ago. That's our POM cycles are 3 years to incorporate large pieces of technology, a subcomponent, things like that. There's nuance there, but if there is some game-changing, new satellite bus design or something like that, I needed to have POM'd for that in the funding cycle 3 years ago. Coincidentally, the STRATFI and TACFI cycles are 3 years. So they are meant to, okay, here's a promising company, promising phase 2. I, on the program office side, am going to start getting my ducks in a row to receive this technology. And the STRATFI money can continue the R&D during that period of time so that we can kind of throw and catch to the same location. And so that has been a very, very powerful tool. And we'll talk about what all goes into that. But it is additional SBIR dollars. It is the only type of money that we have at Space Force. I will point out now, I know the DIU was here briefing. DIU uses a funding mechanism called OTAs, other transactional authorities. It is a non-FAR-based type of money. It's very flexible. That is different than our type of money. We are FAR-based. FAR is the Federal Acquisition Regulation. We are a FAR-based type of money. So that's kind of how we differ, is the types of dollars that we have. They can put money towards large companies, and we cannot. Okay. We can go to the next slide. I already went through some of this. So the phase 1 to 3 funnel is not always as straightforward as this. Phase 1 is usually a feasibility study. It's lower dollar amounts. Phase 2 is the outcome is a prototype. This is in the most common cases, specific topic. Phase 2 is $2 million. That is the vast majority of what we do, because a lot of technology is already kind of past the feasibility study stage. There's a lot of companies that are ready to show us a prototype. And so we have a lot of what's called D2P2s, direct to phase 2 solicitations with 2 years to produce a prototype. And if you get done faster, that's great, and you can move on to other stages at that point. Walking along, you do not have to go to the STRATFI TACFI phase in order to go to the phase 3. I think it just depends on the type of technology. Some companies kind of need that additional step, some do not. We get a lot of companies that have a thriving commercial market, but they just need a modification to be, to meet some defense need. And so in that case, maybe a STRATFI or TACFI is not necessary. Maybe going direct to a phase 3, which is non-SBIR dollars. This would be a program office saying, I'm going to put additional program office dollars on.
They're ready to advance.
Exactly.
Maybe, okay.
Exactly. And at that point, they're kind of out of the SBIR.
Right.
Education on actually moving into this funnel and into a program office has been our biggest effort over the last few years. I think in Congress, you heard the word SBIR mill a lot, with the same companies coming back for the same SBIRs over and over.
Right.
We are trying to stop that. And a big part of that is lack of knowledge of what other contracting vehicles are out there. I got $2 million. I've completed my thing. I'm going to go get 2 million more and do some more things that you asked me to do. And so kind of getting out of that cycle and on like this should be a launch pad to a different contract vehicle, educating companies on what the pathways are, our restrictions on the type of money that we have, those types of things. We're trying to get that outreach out there. And SIVers are not unique to SpaceWorks. I mean, AppWorks does SIVers and all the other departments of the government, Department of Energy and health and everything can also do SIVers. So
Yes.
we might get lumped in with some bad press with those.
Yeah,
guys.
no, I work with them on the
Right,
NASA side.
right, Right. When and we're trying to work more closely with NASA as well. There's cases where we see NASA phase 1s that turn into Space Force phase 2s. Because some underlying technology for a sensor or a propulsion technique or onboard computer, it applies to both.
Yeah.
And so we've seen a lot of that. And having these companies have multiple funding streams is so helpful to the company because as much as we try to get our stuff in order, having additional customers is just good business. And so having a commercial foothold, having customers in NASA or other branches is really beneficial. And so we try to help companies with that as well. Okay, we can go to the next slide. This is a little bit more information on StratFi TACFi. The goal of this is to de-risk the technology. That is the goal. And up until this year, it has been DAF only. So Department of the Air Force only. It's been a pilot program to help with the transition rate. In the new Innovate Act that's currently going through the House, they are looking to expand that DoD-wide. Which we are 100% advocating for because it's been such a powerful tool for companies. We know on the space side, space can just be very expensive. So if you need an on-orbit demo, if you need, testing facilities, that's inherently more expensive than some other tech. So we recognize that. And so I think that's why StratFi is so powerful. Next slide. Okay, money, the amounts. So TACFi, let's do dual use TACFi and dual use StratFi. Those are kind of the bigger dollar ones. For essentially, this is where matching funds come in. You might hear this quite a bit. For TACFi, you could get, we put up $2 million, let's say for a dual use TACFi, $2 million of SBIR dollars. And then that gets a $2 million match. We use very flexible language when saying what that matching can be. It can be venture capital, can be private capital, but really, again, the goal is to de-risk the technology. So it can come from state grants, it can come from other entities, and there's a lot of companies that want the non-dilutive capital, which we totally get. That is still available. And again, the goal is just to de-risk the technology. So that private matching kind of helps with that. And then looking at the dual use StratFi, this is our biggest dollar amount. This tends to be where people want to launch something into space. This is 15 million of SBIR dollars, 15 million of a program office match, and then 30 million of additional private matching. So what was a $2 million effort can quickly scale into a $60 million. And that's the cap. So there's any dollar amount between that is kind of where that StratFi can land. We don't have many of these. It is a fairly new program, and but we're seeing this as a really powerful tool. Getting things on orbit, getting things launched, seeing those on orbit demos is much more powerful and de-risks it for the program. Okay, next slide. Here's where our investments have gone. You can kind of see, state impact. There has been quite a bit in Texas. We're starting to see more. I think proximity, and there's already such a big space presence in Southern California. Southern California's space industry outperforms their entertainment industry by like threefold. It's a humongous portion of the Southern California economics. And we're starting to see a lot of that growth in other states as well, to include Texas, Florida, get a lot in Colorado as well. All right, and next slide. So I want to go over briefly our challenge process. So I know you might see this if you go to our website. So sometimes program offices come to us with a very, very specific need. I need this propulsion system and I need it to have these specs. We can write them up a solicitation and have small businesses apply. That's great. Sometimes they have a more nebulous problem and they want commercial help on it. And that is where we apply the challenge process. So in that case, it's thorough market research. We run something called a challenge definition workshop where industry, academia, the program office can all get in the same room and talk about a problem. So our latest one was resilient MilSatcom, and they said, I just want to see where is commercial headed with updates to link segment, ground segment, space segments in Satcom. And from that, getting all of those good ideas in the same room, we can write a much more effective solicitation that is realistic for small businesses, but headed in the same direction as industry, because course correcting later on is much more difficult than all kind of heading in the same direction. So we run those challenge definition workshops. We then run the SBIR solicitation cycle to, get applications. We do a showcase for the winners, and then the Commercial Space Office at SSC does all of our contracting, which shortens the contracting timeline from what was historically a 14-month process down to a 4-month process, which I know still feels like a long time for small businesses, so we're sorry, but it's significantly shorter than the traditional contracting timelines, and we're constantly trying to make that faster. So the challenge process, you might see events and things come up. We pool a lot of money together for challenges, and so it allows for a little bit more breadth of ideas. And then after a challenge is finished, the group of companies then creates a cohort, all getting after the same problem set. And we give them every resource we can. We put them through an accelerator program. We help them out with lab space. We really kind of help them on the tail end with the transition piece. Transitions to strap or TAC coming out of challenges so far has been about 45% of the companies going through the challenge program have done follow-on TAC. We think it's because of the demand signal. The demand signal of a challenge is coming straight from the program office, and we see that tech pull of like, all right, get on my back. We're running through this process, and we're going to get you kind of integrated into our program office. So I think this is a really powerful process, and we're leveraging it quite a bit. So keep an eye out for any workshops and things that we're doing. Next slide. And then I'll just kind of put this up here as these are the types of things that we do for challenges. We did tactically responsive space, and you'll see quite a few of these are complete. So tactically responsive space was a reconstitution of orbit. How fast can we get something on orbit? Digital Spaceport of the Future was for Cape Canaveral, trying to give them a digital infrastructure. It was all software based. So we saw a lot of like more simple integration without the hardware kind of slowing us down there. Alt PNT was a great one that was coming straight from the program office. How can we navigate without traditional GPS? 2 of those companies, we got them into Northern Edge, which is a Indo-PACOM exercise. So they're going to be on Mark 4 pack and a pack fleet unit, testing out their technology. There's very few opportunities for companies to work in a GNSS denied environment, and exercises are one that they can do that in. So helps us because we get to get the operator feedback. We get really great test information. The company benefits because their technical readiness is great. So we're trying to do more of that. Sustained Space Maneuver was sponsored by US Spacecom, being able to maneuver without regret. So we had a lot of companies that had innovative ways to maneuver in space more effectively. Resilient Milcom was the one I mentioned before. We've got an open topic manufacturing we did an air and space component. So the air component is already done. The space part will be this in 2026. You mentioned Colonel Latour. So Space Futures Command is sponsoring that next challenge. So the Future Series, Adaptive and Intelligent Space. And that is an STTR challenge. So it's phase 1's early tech, and it's based on the future force design for Space Force coming from what will be Space Futures Command, currently Space Futures Task Force. And then the last one there is the AI/ML for warfighter applications. So kind of keep a lookout for those last couple coming out in 2026. And next slide. And then this is our money. So overall, Department of the Air Force, we get about $1.5 billion of SBI or STTR dollars. We get about $500 million of that. And yeah, that seems to be the case for 2026 as well. Next slide. And I did briefly mention this. This was kind of our shift from open topic. We were heavy users of open topic when we first stood up. And a lot of that was manning. We were, I think, 6 people deep in the entirety of SpaceWorks. And open topic was a good way to churn out solicitations. Not such a good way of transitioning technology, which is why you've seen that pivot and why I think we've actually been transitioning the technology much more effectively. Still have that open topic, but this has kind of been where we're moving, and I don't really see that changing much. Next slide. Right, and I'm happy to take in questions. Love seeing all of the growth in Texas, and if there's any ways that we can do more outreach to small businesses in Texas.
I'll start a question, just curious, because obviously AFWorks has been, it looks like AFWorks may have started around the time DIU did. And then when did, with the Space Force only being 5 years old, when did you all separate?
About 4 years ago.
Okay. It's amazing how quickly that's ramped up.
Yeah.
Like us, when we started a year ago and put out our, opened our grant application process, we didn't know what the demand signal would be. And we were overwhelmed by the demand signal, frankly, which is fantastic. But how has the demand signal been? And, it sounds like integration of how this works together and flows the company through is still a working process, right?
Yeah, we're always trying to get feedback from both companies and the program offices on how we can do that better. I honestly think the biggest shift that we've seen is program office.
Okay.
Because traditionally program offices are looking at big primes. Does everyone have clearances?
Right.
Do they have a SCIF? All of those types of things. And I do think that even we're even seeing some of like the most classified, topics or like a lot of our orbital warfare type satellites, their sensors is the classified thing.
Right.
We're seeing a lot of commercial companies that just create exquisite buses, satellite buses. And we can pluck that off the shelf then, invest in technology like that, pluck that off the shelf, and then the expensive, exquisite sensor can just fit on it. And so I do think that we've kind of opened the blinders a little bit to like, oh, we can use, like, they don't need all of the classified
Yeah.
SCIF, everything. We just have to be creative in how we integrate it. And we've seen a lot of shift there. And then people understanding their commercial business case, the small businesses, trying to get different customers, relying on only us as a customer, I think has been not the best business plan that we've seen.
My last question, I'll open it up to my fellow board members, but how do they find you typically? Because, and in all honesty, it's taken me a while over the last year and a half to understand, because I was doing more civil type of work with when do I go to DIU, when would I go to Spaceworks, or so, are people finding you? And is that part of this integration process of making it easy for the?
We're trying to come to the small businesses as much as we can.
Okay, good to know.
Because we know that it's difficult to travel. I think that's why you saw California, as heavy as it is, because they're close. And so we're trying to travel and come to like more events and come to those things.
Yeah, we participate in a lot of conferences, so
Yeah.
Space Symposium, we have a booth, the Austin events that go on, whether it's South by Southwest or Fed Supernova, we've been at for a couple of years. And numerous other conferences, but yes, we try to come to conferences. And I think just saying, when a small business comes to us, and I think this is true for me, I think it's true for everybody, we may say, you know what, you're not a small business, you don't meet, or I should say, commercial business comes to us, we may say, you're not a small business, you don't meet Spaceworks, but go talk to our friends in DIU and vice versa. And we have those relationships across the department where we can hand them off and say, you know what, you might be more of an AFWorks versus a Spaceworks, or you might fit better with DIU. I mean, we are pretty well tied into what those other organizations are doing. And I think the way I heard it said best was Stoiky from DIU said, we'll be the Sherpas. We will help Sherpa you as the commercial company through the DoD figure out who you need to talk to and help with that education piece.
The other tricky thing that we see is partnering with other innovation arms of other branches. A lot of times Spaceworks or Space Force might have a space-based technology, but the end user is not a Space Force person. So we run the satellite constellation for GPS. A lot of our end users in theater are not Space Force people. And we're starting to see some of that happen with like directed energy or power beaming, things like that. It's a space-enabled technology, but your end user might be a Navy fleet or a forward-facing Army unit or something like that. So working with those innovation arms of like, is there a demand signal for another branch to have this technology, and should Space Force invest in this type of technology? So we work very, very closely with those other innovation arms for sure.
Other questions? Kathy's got her hand up. So Kathy, over to you.
So you talked about you're at the conferences, but if we were out meeting with companies or like, I noticed I was kind of expecting on your last site, you'd have like a URL or like a website or a contact piece. What's the entry door? Where do you want people to go into your organization?
The easiest way to know what is happening is to follow Spaceworks on LinkedIn. That is what I would offer to any
On
small business.
LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, because on LinkedIn we post, hey, we have this new solicitation happening, we have this new challenge happening. We kind of push that out to you. We will always link it, but our solicitations go out on DSIP, which is where all SBIRs and STTR solicitations go. But they have to log in and see what's new. I think setting yourself up at spaceworks.us has, an email list and things like that. Really just however you like to get connected. That's where I usually point small businesses to. If the small business is interested in pitching their technology, we send them to SSC Front Door. Sierra Charlie Front Door.
For Space Systems Command.
Yeah.
Systems.
And that helps you get a stakeholder for something like a customer memorandum. That's usually where we send folks if they're interested in pitching their technology. Otherwise, you're kind of looking out for a solicitation that matches your technology. And then open topics are still available as well. Great.
Here, Dr. Wilson. Good to see you.
Yeah, I apologize for having to come in late. I just wanted to tell you, both of you, I really enjoyed your presentation. Look forward to working with you and seeing you in Texas. And I couldn't be prouder. Good job.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's kind of nice. Yeah. Thank you. And I guess that's kind of all in there by asking, how can we be of help other than as people reach out to us, we guide them to your resources, letting you know maybe where there's small new business cluster events or somewhere around the state that might make sense for you guys to be.
The other thing that we are trying to work on our network of is lab space. There's a lot of universities that we've noticed. It's not everybody, so we're trying to kind of do this on a case by case basis. There's a lot of universities that we would be happy to partner with a small business. We have this propulsion tester or RPO tester or hypersonic tester, whatever it is, and being able to send small businesses to the university for testing facilities or SME support, or kind of after they've been awarded, kind of outside of the STTR process. Is there any way to get some money to these labs that I know a lot of other federal funding has dropped? And so I think, is there additional resources that they're looking for, additional partnerships that we can kind of push their way?
Help these small businesses do the lab work that they need.
Exactly. Instead of having to build their own systems or anything like that.
Right.
So that's another thing that we're kind of looking out for, or any other game-changing technology that you see that Space Force should be paying attention to this. We work very closely with the program offices and say, this is an emerging commercial technology and you should be paying attention.
Great.
So happy to set up meetings and things like that. But I think STTR for any of the universities that want to partner with small businesses, SBIR, just kind of getting people familiar with our name and what we do. Happy to come out and talk to anybody.
Thank you.
I do think that helps. I think sending someone to a website is first step.
It's hard.
It is.
Yeah. So
When every time that we brief, I think we get a little like,
Yeah.
so anything that we can do to help spread the word, we're here. So.
thank you both.
And anything we can do to help y'all with your charge.
Yes.
I mean, I'm here locally and proud Texan.
Yes, thank
I appreciate you. You keep coming to the meetings, which thank you
going.
so much. That's great. That's wonderful. Thank you both. And it's been a pleasure to learn more. So thank you, Major Hessler and Major Rogers. We greatly appreciate y'all. And thanks for being here today.
you both.
Thank you. Great. All right. So next up on the agenda is consideration of Space Exploration and Aeronautics Research Fund, or SURF application.
Yes, ma'am. I just want to make sure that we reflect formally that Dr. Wilson has joined us before we take votes, so that the record reflects.
Great. And I believe Brad is not on from what I can, okay, so that, I know that we've had a couple folks that are in weird places, so again. So any questions before we begin on today's applications? All right, hearing none. Members, relevant details on the applications before us today are in your board book on tab 3. I'm going to go to that myself. Okay. In accordance with the Texas Space Commission's rules, if a board member has a conflict of interest as described in those rules, the board member will disclose that conflict of interest in this open meeting as the matter arises and recuse him or herself from participating in the review, discussion, deliberation, and voting on that matters. Board members have already disclosed their written notice as required by the rules, and they have not accessed information regarding the applications in which they are conflicted. First up, we have application 25-0049B from Style Lab Systems, Inc. For the record, I understand that there are no conflicts that have been identified on this application, but I'll ask do any board members have a conflict of interest on this. Hearing none. Application 25-0049B is a grant application from, it's either Still Labs or Style Labs, and I have different meetings with myself on how to do that. Satellite Systems, Inc. for research and development costs. This project would further develop and validate a secure satellite update or SSU system, a quantum resilient and zero trust architecture. The objective is to enhance capability to securely update satellite systems through automated processes. This company has already received a SBIR Phase 1 award, and the application included a letter of support from AFRL's Space Cyber Resiliency Lab lead. Lab's application for SURF grant indicates that they will be collaborating with the University of Texas at Dallas for this project. The members, are there any discussion on application 250049B? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the award regarding application 250049B in the amount of up to $250,000 for research and development costs, conditioned on the applicant's successful completion of the Commission's administrative background assessments and acceptance of grant agreement terms?
I so
that
move.
I'll second
Sorry.
it then.
Okay, I so move.
So Kathy, thank you for the motion, and Kurt, thank you for the second. All in favor of approving application 250049B, say aye.
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 Evan, can you come off the and say aye?
Aye.
Thank you.
And those opposed, say no. Or any abstentions? Okay, motion carries for application 250049B. Next up, we have application 250227G from the City of Midland. For the record, I understand there are no conflicts on this application. Do any board members have a conflict on the application from the City of Midland? Application 250227G is a grant application in the City of Midland for construction costs. This project will construct infrastructure for a multi-user vertical suborbital launch and reentry range. The site development will include necessary infrastructure and a launch facility. This project will be the first public launch and reentry range in Texas for commercial space companies to test and evaluate new technologies. The City of Midland's application notes that the project includes collaboration with the University of Texas Permian Basin and Midland College. Is there any discussion on application 250227G? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the award regarding application 250227G in the amount of up to $4 million for construction costs, conditioned on the applicant's successful completion of the Commission's administrative background assessments and acceptance of grant agreement terms?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, John. And may I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Evan. All in favor of approving application 250227G, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. Okay, motion carries. I believe, yes, and now I'm going to turn it over to Kathy for one more application.
Okay, next we have application 25-0128B from ILC Aerospace. Chair Griffin is recused from discussion and voting in this application. Do any other board members have a conflict of interest on this application? Okay, application 25-0128-B is a grant application. ILC Astrospace for equipment and research and development costs. This project would advance the spacesuit market by developing a PLIS prototype. The project would validate the system architecture as well as key components and interfaces. By doing so, ILC could expand from just pressure garment hardware into the whole PLIS and provide specialized skills and life support systems and spaceflight technology. Members, is there any discussion on application 25-0128-B? Okay, hearing none. Do I have a motion to approve the award regarding application 25-0123B in the amount of up to $4,494,354 for eligible costs, conditions on the applicant's successful completion of the commission's administrative background assessments and acceptance of grant agreement terms?
Motion to approve.
Thanks, John. So John Shannon has moved approval. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Kirk Shireman has seconded the motion. Okay, so all in favor of approving application 25-0128-B, say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Okay, with that, Gwen, I'll turn the meeting back over to you.
Great, thank you. So at this time, the board will meet in closed session under section 551.092 of the Texas Government Code as posted and noted in agenda item 8. Staff, please show the members of the public joining in person where they may wait till the executive session concludes. And please take the necessary steps to ensure only board members attending remotely are in the executive session room online. This time, 12:12, it is 12:12 and we're released.
Hey, we're seeing you in close-up now, Gwen. This is much better.
Okay, I see Kathy and Kirk. All right, the time is 1:29, and we're back in the public session after meeting in closed session. The board met in closed session from, let me go back to my notes, from 12:16 until 1:26. As permitted by Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, as posted and noticed in the agenda item number 8. No specific action will be taken, and we will resume with the posted agenda. You good?
Keep going.
Okay, all right. Is there any other business to attend to for today's meeting? Kathy, Kirk, nothing there. All right, hearing none, I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. The meeting is adjourned at 1:30 p.m.